We finished the PCT.
Yep.
Nice job, boys. In New Hampshire, and off trail for months. Asked some specific questions, so I definitely want to answer those.
My name is Asher, and my trail name is Hermes. I'm 13.
My name is Brody. I don't really have a trail name right now, and I'm 16.
My name is Elliot. My trail name is Drive, and I'm 15.
My name is Ben. My trail name is Unbreakable, and I'm 17.
I was 14.
12.
And 12. So you've had a birthday
I was 15.
we came back, a couple of birthdays. All right, so PCT was our second through hike. Appalachian Trail through hike from Georgia to Maine in 2021. Pacific Crest Trail from Mexico to Canada in 2022. The fire closure. Other than that, we hiked it through. And what was our start date?
April 17th.
April 17th, 2022, and we finished on...
July 31st. 106.
Does anyone remember what we took for zeros?
5? I think 5 zeros.
All right, so that was 106 consecutive days with 5 zeros in there to complete the trail. As a group, we're the field trip. Some people were wondering about you boys, about your weight on the trail. Did it change from the beginning to the end? Did you have any issues?
No.
No weight issues.
No,
Kinda stayed the
I think
same.
I actually gained a couple of pounds from all the sweets and stuff that I was eating.
Yeah, I can say as their mother that the way that we eat on the trail is not the way that we eat at home. So definitely some extra, even though we're working hard, extra fat, extra calories, not very healthy foods that we're eating on the trail that I think actually help them keep their weight up or consistent anyway on the trail. Muscle tone changed a little bit, but leaned up or pretty much stayed the same. A couple of people wanted to know if you boys were keeping a trail journal along the way.
Just the videos.
Just the videos.
All right. Did we ever keep a trail journal along the way?
For like the first week of the Appalachian Trail.
Right.
And then we kind of...
I did have everybody carrying their own journal and had wonderful plans of journaling and reflecting every single night in the tent. But the reality is we would hike to dark, we'd be exhausted, we'd get ready for bed and go to sleep. However, I continued to keep a journal of the highlights and the mileage that we did each day and stuff like that, just so that we would have a record to look back on. It's turned out to be not real practical. As we hike, we're constantly talking and reflecting, and I write down some highlights, and the videos bring back lots of memories and things to reflect on. So what do we do once we get home?
We create like a journal and reflect on it.
Yeah. I torture them by debriefing and reflecting on many aspects of the trail. Did you miss school, or how were we even able to do this?
So what we did is, at the beginning of the year and towards the middle, we started doubling up on all of our schoolwork so that we could go out a little bit earlier in the year.
We're homeschooled, by the way.
Yeah, we're homeschooled.
So that's how that's possible.
All right. So we accelerated some of your subjects, some of your work, so because we knew when we wanted to end the year, when we wanted to head to trail, right?
Yeah.
So that made it possible. If there was anything that you didn't finish up, or if there was say one chapter left in a certain subject, what would we do?
We would pick it up once we came back.
Finish it up before we moved on. So yeah, it's all possible. Homeschooling is really awesome. It's definitely a blessing, gives us the freedom and the flexibility to do this and still be educated. So on that note, some people are wondering what you boys think that you might want to do in the future.
Well, I'm only in 7th grade, so I don't really know what I want to do yet, but...
All right.
I'm not exactly sure what I would like to do. Hopefully I can stay healthy and keep running, and then potentially run in college.
I'm in 8th grade, so I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet, but I'm definitely considering doing sports in college.
I'm a junior, and I'd like to go to college to become a veterinarian.
All right. So this next fall is going to be pretty busy for Unbreakable. It's got a pretty good course load to finish up, as well as applying to colleges. Anyone out there that happens to be a vet and is watching and wants to give us any tips or any great programs that he should consider undergrad, we'll take any information and advice that anyone has for us. Regarding school, we do not take school books on the trail. Some people have asked us that in the past, and why wouldn't we do that, boys?
Because they're heavy.
Not ultralight.
Yeah, but no, seriously, honestly, we don't have time. Like we aren't taking 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 months to hike this trail. Like, these boys want to do it, and they want to do it fast. We're not trying to do it as fast as we possibly can, but we are trying to do it at a pretty good pace. So there's really no time to sit around and do actual book work. We try to get our book work done before we hit the trail, and then on the trail there's plenty of life skills and experiential learning and some incredible stuff going on that wouldn't happen in a classroom, at a desk, or through a textbook. So we really value those experiences in learning on the trail as well. What did you discover about yourself on the trail?
We can do a lot more than we think we can. We can go a lot farther and faster, and we can push through more things than we really think we can.
Teamwork, I guess. Like setting up the tent, breaking down the tent, that was big. So we worked on teamwork.
Patience
Yeah.
when we're all tired and hungry.
And just communication. Just asking each other, do we want to stop for lunch here? Do we not want to stop? Do we want to go another 5 miles or set up camp now? Just stuff like that.
Did you discover anything in particular about anyone else that you were traveling with?
Brody's feet stink.
Oh gosh, so bad.
They weren't as bad on the PCT as they were on the AT. So I'm getting better with that.
More trench foot on the AT, huh?
Yeah.
I learned a few things about who's hard to get moving in the morning,
Oh,
who gets up and gets going in the morning. Well, on those decisions on the trail, like, are we going to stop? When are we going to stop? Are people hungry? Are people done for the day? Stuff like that. Does everyone always agree?
No.
So how do we handle those things?
Kind of compromise and decide what's the best, like, mile marker, or if there's a nice view.
Yeah. There are things to consider, right? Besides just how we feel, we might be thinking about how many miles we've already done, how many miles we wanted to do, how many miles or where we hope to get to the next day. So all those things are taken into account. There have only been a few occasions, I think, where we stopped short, not because we really wanted to, but because...
But because of bugs.
Yeah. A couple times we just decided it was time to get in our tent, even though we could have hiked some more miles that day, and we would have and wanted to. Yeah. What have you learned about other people on the trail or along the trail or in the towns, not necessarily hikers?
You can notice, like, that they smell clean. They don't smell like hikers.
Yeah. We do notice how dirty we are and how smelly we are.
There are a lot of nice people out there. Lots of trail magic. Lots of people willing to go out of their way to help us.
Yeah.
Do you think we could have done the trail without help from strangers?
Like,
No.
no, because that includes rides.
That includes hitching.
into town.
Yeah.
That includes, like, yeah, just like all the water caches that we came
Yeah.
across. It would have made it nearly impossible without all the help.
And a different hike for sure.
Yeah.
It would have taken a lot more planning. I think the trail angels are amazing. People that help us out along the way have been incredible, and we're so thankful.
Yeah.
So thankful to all that help. How about other hikers that we meet along the way?
Almost everybody is friendly and
Yeah.
loves to talk to you. They like to swap stories and experiences.
Yeah, it's really easy to connect to those people because you're in the same situation as them. You've kind of gone through similar things. Yeah, I just found it was easy.
Yeah.
A lot of experience also. Like, they can help us, like, if we wanted to hike another trail and they had hiked that trail, they could teach us about that trail, so.
We ask a lot of questions, don't we?
Yeah.
How about like connections that you make with other hikers?
It's hard to leave at the end.
Yeah.
You feel like you know the person so well, even though you only hiked with them for a few weeks or months.
Make friends pretty easily.
Or maybe even days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
days.
Sometimes you can hike with someone for days and you feel like there's a real connection to them because
Yeah.
you've shared this experience, right? It's a pretty cool community. Some things that surprised you on the PCT.
I thought that the Sierras were going to have the best views, but Washington did.
I thought that the desert was going to be more barren than it was. There were surprising amounts of shade and that we could duck under to eat lunch.
It
and
was
stuff.
diverse. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't all the same every single day.
Right,
And I thought the desert was going to be flat, but definitely wasn't.
right.
I was also surprised by the amount of snow we had after the Sierras. Like, we pretty much had snow almost the whole entire way
Yeah.
after that.
And then another major thing we noticed was that the Sierra rivers were not as bad as the rivers in Washington. We thought that was going to be. We didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah. That probably varies year to year.
Right.
But in our
But
case,
in our case, Washington rivers were a lot worse.
And, the mosquitoes in Oregon,
Oh my
they were
goodness.
worse than expected.
Yeah.
oh, how about Kennedy Meadows?
Oh yeah. There were no meadows.
It's desert.
It was a desert right up to it and a little ways after it. I was expecting like a nice meadow with like a country store, but nope. It was just like sagebrush, just and sand all the way to the front porch of Kennedy Meadows.
Okay. When we were on the trail, were there times that we considered quitting?
No.
No. Not considered.
Elliot's
quitting.
shaking his head yes, and Brody's saying no.
Yeah. I mean,
Did we sit down and say, are we going to quit? Are we done?
No.
Were there times on the trail that were very challenging,
Yes.
difficult, that we wanted to quit?
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been nice to get into a town and just not have to be in that situation.
especially like Oregon and the mosquitoes. Oh, brutal.
All right. So why didn't we quit? If
We
there were
were
times that were so hard and whatever.
Determined.
We were determined to make it to the finish,
Yeah.
and we don't quit.
We're not quitters. We're above average.
Stop it. All right. What were some things that you would say were either most enjoyable or most memorable, incredible on the PCT?
Sunrise on Mount Whitney.
Yeah. That was very enjoyable.
Yes. So we did, if anyone didn't watch our videos, we did summit Mount Whitney, which is a side trip, technically not on the PCT. We decided to summit it and we did a sunrise. It was pretty awesome.
Passes in the Sierra Nevadas were very memorable. Some of them were more enjoyable than others.
Yeah.
But they're all very memorable.
It was very snowy when we were
Yeah.
passing through there.
Right.
So all those passes, I would love to do those passes with like,
No snow.
yeah, no snow, wildflowers. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think getting to the top of like any mountain or peak, like you climb like a 10-mile climb or a big climb, and then just getting to the top feels so good, so enjoyable.
I was gonna say the stars in like the desert and the whole way really.
Oh, yeah.
Those were pretty awesome.
Oh, and the solar eclipse.
Oh
We
yeah.
saw the solar eclipse in the desert.
That was a pretty cool
memorable.
night. And we cowboy camped that night
Yep.
so we could look at it like,
Yeah.
that was cool.
Getting to a new state.
Oh
That-
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Knocking California off the list.
Oh my goodness, getting to the California-Oregon border. How about that?
Yeah.
in some ways I felt like that was like as exciting as finishing, because it just seemed we were looking forward to it for so long. Yeah. Getting to the Washington border obviously was exciting.
Any town, getting into a town,
Yeah.
eating food,
Taking
sleeping
a
in a
shower.
bed.
Taking a shower.
How do we know how often did we stay in towns?
I'm not sure. We don't know that statistic.
Not a whole lot.
No, not a lot.
We'll have to look that up. Do we know like how often we cowboy camped versus tented?
I haven't made the list yet.
About the weather on the PCT. How was it?
It was hot.
Extremes. For sure.
Did we have rain?
Only
Like-
in Yosemite.
3 days of rain.
A couple days in Yosemite, and then
We had,
the day we crossed the border,
yeah,
We had one night of rain in the
California into Oregon was rainy. 4th of July.
right.
desert. One night in the desert, we had rain.
All right. So pretty dry otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And then,
cold. Let's talk about the extremes.
right. So it was freezing in the Sierra,
Below freezing.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was,
like in the teens at night, and then it would maybe get up to like 40 degrees in the day, and then you'd have to cross a freezing river, and it'd already be so cold that you get out of the river and it's hard to warm up. Or when you would go to bed and you'd sleep right before a river because we didn't want to ford it at night, and then we get up and we're like peeling ourselves out of our sleeping bags and knowing we're about to go trudge through numbing water.
At like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
some
Below
of the
freezing.
some of the nights and mornings, early mornings and late nights in the desert
Yeah.
were pretty cold.
Or the 100+ degree weather in Washington. That was tough.
Yeah, we had a couple of heat waves. There was a heat wave out of Bernie,
Yeah.
so some heat in Northern California, and then also in Washington. And challenges that we had specifically with gear. Any gear challenges?
We had kind of issue with trekking poles. We either bent them, lost them down a river, or broke them. We never. I don't know what. We just couldn't have one pair.
So we replaced trekking poles along the way.
Yeah. And then in the desert, our socks would like get filled with sand. Even with the gaiters, all the sand would still just get in the socks, and then it would be like gritty, rubbing up against our feet.
I think also our ground cloth, we switched that out like 3 times
Yeah.
on the AT and then on the PCT. Couldn't really find a good one.
I got nothing.
Blisters?
Yes.
Yes.
I had blister issues a lot. Yeah. I mean, on my hands and my feet from the trekking poles.
I found that I really only had blisters in the desert, where the sand was getting into the socks and it was just rubbing.
Okay.
But other than the desert, I didn't have any problems.
I
We'll
don't think I had any blisters on PCT.
I maybe had like 5.
that we did have blister issues in Washington on the days where we were constantly walking through water.
I did have raw feet. I had
Yeah.
raw feet.
Rough
Yeah,
feet.
we had definitely had
I
some foot
yeah.
issues there.
Yeah.
What challenges did the trail present?
It was tough for us at the beginning in the desert because we weren't used to the heat, and it was very hot and dry and sunshine like all day.
And like the snow, you just kept like losing the trail in like the Sierras in Northern California and onto Oregon and Washington.
The burn zones were difficult to walk through. Just be miles and miles and miles of just ash everywhere, and it would get all over your skin and in your socks. And there was no shade because all the trees were just poles, pretty much.
Charred up.
Yep.
Mosquitoes in Oregon.
Yep.
And in the beginning of Washington.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
mosquitoes were pretty bad. Going out of White Pass, remember that?
Oh, Lord.
Southern California, what do you remember? What-
Sand, desert.
Yeah, sand.
Hot, dry.
Yeah.
All right.
I remember one comment on Gut Hook was, are we hiking the Pacific Crest Trail or the beach trail? Because of how much sand there was.
Yeah. we got a little tired of the sand. By the time we were getting close to Kennedy Meadows, we were ready to be done with the desert, right?
Yep.
But it was awesome initially. It was just long. What else? So then we went into the Sierra Nevadas.
Yep.
Cold, snowy.
Yeah, cold and snowy.
Opposite the desert.
Yeah.
And then long food carries, kind of.
Yeah.
And then
Hard resupplies.
Hard resupplies.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, a couple of the common resupplies in the Sierra Nevadas were closed.
Right.
Had been closed since COVID, or were closed for different reasons. I don't even
Snow.
know. A couple of the convenient ones we weren't able to use. All right, and then Northern California. So we came out of the Sierra Nevadas, and we were kind of expecting it to be like smooth sailing at that point, right? Like, meaning no snow. We're going to get to up our mileage and get moving. But what really happened?
It was still snowy, and
Yeah.
we lost the trail a lot in that area.
Burn section.
Yeah.
But it was also hot, and there were burn areas.
And there were also some buggy times like
Yeah.
through there.
Yeah. It was like hot, but then there was like snow on the ground. It was like weird.
Yeah. And we were setting up our tent a lot because of the bugs. And in the Sierra Nevadas, we had cowboyed as much as we could, right?
Right.
So we were looking forward to moving faster, but we had some couple things that were still slowing us down.
Yeah.
All right. Then we got to the border and we got into Oregon. What do you remember about Oregon?
I have to say that the first like 50 miles of Oregon were actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
Like
It
there
was
was
pleasant hiking.
yeah, not many mosquitoes and it was pretty flat,
And then it went downhill quick.
real quick.
Just bugs and snow and bugs and snow.
And heat.
Yeah, and heat.
And there were some heat waves in there
Right.
too. And then we had the section that we needed to jump around, which created quite a bit of stress for us because it just wasn't easy to navigate. They did end up opening that section right after.
Right after we
Yeah. So in hindsight, I kind of almost wish that we had hiked through it. But at the time, it was closed. People were making comments that they were getting fined or that.
people were taking pictures of them. People were getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were
didn't
trying
wanna
to.
risk it.
Yeah. We were a little bit afraid that we could potentially have a problem, and we're a larger group. We can't really.
Sneak.
We don't really go unnoticed, and we were trying to do the right thing. So, anyway, that kind of propelled us through Oregon. All right. So, what else do you remember about Oregon?
Volcanoes.
Oh, yeah.
There were lots of volcanoes.
It's a
That was
volcanic
pretty
rock.
Yeah.
Cool.
Lots of glaciers.
Like huge peaks in the distance. Yeah, Adams, Jefferson,
Yeah.
Mount St. Helens. We saw that.
Yep.
Incredible views. Yeah, awesome. All right. And then we got into Washington. What do you remember about Washington? What are your thoughts there?
Bridge of the Gods.
Yeah.
That was kind of a big entry point.
Big milestone.
Big milestone.
Yeah.
And the rivers,
Yep.
those are sketchy.
Yeah,
And
those are
then
tough.
so much snow. And we weren't expecting so much snow on the actual trail. Like it was July and
We were still walking on snow for miles and miles on end.
We were still pretty nervous about entering Washington, right? What was going on? Like, what were other people doing?
People were either getting
Yeah.
off trail or staying in towns for a while to wait it out.
A lot of people were recommending waiting or getting off trail, but it just made sense to go through. And in the end, it worked out for us.
We did have some concerns, though, going into Washington regarding the snow and
Hart's
Fire Creek Pass.
Right.
Hart's Pass were we worried about?
yeah.
Worried about getting down
Oh, okay.
because we didn't know if the road was going to be open or if it was going to be washed out or something.
Big mountains,
Huge peaks.
Rainier, Mount St. Helens, all those.
Right.
What's my question?
What would we do differently next through hike?
Okay, what will we do differently next through hike? Oh, assuming we would go on another through hike,
Right.
what would we do differently?
Lighter backpack.
Yep.
Faster start.
Do you mean an actual pack? You want an actual lighter pack, or do you want to put less in it?
Lighter base weight.
Lighter base weight.
Would
And
you also like a lighter pack?
That'd
Yes,
be
I
nice.
would.
We'd like to start a little bit faster, and overall do the a different trail a little bit faster.
Like start hiking earlier in the day, like more like 6 o'clock, 5:30.
Go to bed at a consistent time. Instead of hiking like till 12 and then till 7.
And have our mileage be more consistent. Yeah. That way it's not like a 20 and then a 40, then another 20, then another 40.
Right.
Yeah, we need a little discipline. Getting up in the morning, and I think that is the key.
Right.
That's the key for us. That would help. All right. What about anything else we would do differently, like gear-wise and stuff?
Figure out the whole ground cloth
Yeah.
situation.
A few changes that we would make: some warmer sleeping bags for the higher elevations. Better mosquito plan.
Yeah.
Sun hoodies for the desert, some of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna
Cover the back
maybe
of our
switch
neck.
that up a little bit.
New trekking poles.
All right. So a couple things we need to change. We'll talk more specifically about gear in another video, because I just don't want this to take. I don't want this video to be super long. So gear will be a whole separate issue, because we have a lot to say about that. A lot of people wonder if you would ever do this again. Would you hike the PCT again?
Yes.
Maybe.
Maybe.
See, I don't think that I would like to hike the PCT again, but maybe the AT.
Oh, so you'd hike the AT again?
Not the PCT.
Okay. Would anybody want to do the PCT southbound instead of northbound?
Yeah, I'd just like to do it again. I don't really care which direction.
Okay. I'd be interested in doing it in southbound, because you'd get very different scenery. Like you'd
Right.
get the green and the flowers and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So what were you going to say, Asher? Go ahead.
If I were to do it again, yeah, I would probably do it southbound.
We could potentially talk more in the future about the AT versus the PCT. But if I put you on the spot right now, do you like one better than the other, or they have their own differences and uniqueness? They're both good trails.
They're both good trails, and they're both so different. I can't really say which one's better.
I mean, they're so different, but I'd probably AT. I feel like maybe just because it was our first one.
For me, they have their differences, but I think I like the AT more.
For me, I like them both the same. I don't know if because right now I'd like to hike the AT more, but that may be because I just hiked the PCT. So, I'm not sure.
All right. I think another reason why we might want to hike the AT again is because we think we could do it a lot faster.
Yeah.
Better.
We think we could do it faster and better. Our gear has changed a lot. Our gear still has a long way to go, but it's changed a lot since we started the AT. And so I kind of would like another crack at that.
Yeah.
How did we get to the PCT in the first place? Why did we hike the PCT?
Well, originally we were thinking we were going to hike the CDT, but Benjamin is now 17, and we got one more year before he goes off to college. So we saw that the PCT had a permit system, and it was kind of random if we got it. And so we decided we were hiking the PCT if we got a permit, and if we didn't get a permit, we would hike the CDT.
And so we got a permit.
So we hiked the AT, and on the AT we heard about all these other trails, thought they sounded awesome, and yeah, we heard a lot of good things. We heard that there was no rain and there was sunshine. That sounded good at the time. So
Yeah. And we like the idea of accomplishing another challenging through hike,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Long distance. Main question that everyone is asking is if we're going to hike again, and what are we doing next?
Yes, we're gonna hike the Continental Divide Trail,
But first, we're hiking the Arizona Trail.
The reasoning behind this decision is there's record snowfall on the CDT and PCT. CDT more relevant to us, but we need some time to let that snow melt a little bit. So we decided we would hike the Arizona Trail first, and then once we're done that, hop on the CDT. So once we get to the San Juans, there's not as much snow and it won't be as dangerous.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We're hopping on the Arizona Trail.
In a few days.
Wednesday.
We're down to the wire here.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to get on the Arizona Trail, and there's snow there as well.
Right.
But we have smooth trail as far as we know at halfway or better. We'll see what happens when we get up near the North Rim. And after that, head down to Mexico-New Mexico border.
Yep.
See what we can do on the CDT. You guys excited?
Yes.
Does everyone want to do this?
Yes.
Yes.
You're not being forced.
No.
All right. What are your goals for the CDT?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, should we start with the Arizona Trail or CDT
Yeah,
first?
Arizona Trail.
Arizona Trail. So to start the Arizona Trail, we'd like to do it at a pretty aggressive pace, which would be for us 25 to 30 days.
Okay. And the reason for that is because we do want to get started on the CDT.
Right. And we just kind of want to hike fast. And then the CDT we would also like to do at a pretty aggressive pace, which would be more like 90 to 100 days.
All right. So we'll see. We'll see what the trail brings, how the weather is, how the conditions are, and we'll do what we can. Ideally, we want to hike the Arizona Trail completely if we can before we start the CDT. But we'll see how it goes. We'll have to make decisions along the way. Obviously, safety, health and safety are our priorities, but we have some pretty big goals, and pretty excited about getting going in just a few days.
Yep.
What are we going to do regarding videos? Yeah.
It's not really doable to hike at the pace we would like to hike at and post videos. In order to keep up with the videos while we're on trail, we would need to slow down significantly.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take video on the Arizona Trail and CDT. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna post it when we get back home, because it's such a pain to hike at our pace. It's not doable to hike at our pace and also take video and edit the video on trail.
In real time, yeah,
Yeah.
it's too hard. We lose a lot of time in towns when we've tried to do that.
So what we're gonna do is we will be posting to our Instagram.
Right. You can find our Instagram at thefieldtrip_5.